you know how many AI tool sets are in use in your organisation?
But I do think there's a risk, we do outsource so much potentially to AI, particularly when the kids are young and in school, and I don't think we know yet what that impact is going to be. But the skills that they are looking for are largely the human skills. So, this won't be a shock to anybody. The critical thinking, the problem solving, they've become even more important.
Collaborating with others and the leadership styles and being part of a team, a collaborative team, really skills that will never go out of fashion irrespective of technology.
A lot of them are around leadership skills. We run a mentor and mentee program around confidence for women in the tech and sciences.
And then we're focusing on the leadership skills. And I want to start at a younger generation. Ross, you are the head of / principal of Wesley College. It's a private school at secondary level for boys. And you are trialing and you have implemented use of AI for younger ones. So what's first of all, what was the why? Why did you want to implement AI at that age? And then what are the learnings you have seen from the use of AI, not just by students, but by teachers as well?
The first thing, I guess, it was interesting to watch it play out when it was over the summer break last year, where there was a fair bit of histrionics about AI was coming and what are schools going to do about it. So, for many of us, there wasn't that apprehension because it's just the next iteration of Google, of course more sophisticated, but it's the next iteration of technology adapting in schools. And for us, it always goes back to, don't worry about the minor technical details, but step back and philosophically, how will we implement this? And for us and most schools, we know that prohibition doesn't work. So how can we actually use this latest iteration of technology to enhance the classroom, to enhance the skills and learning, and what are the dangers and pitfalls? So in many ways, embrace it rather than try and lock it out of what we're doing, because we know that our young people need to be able to use this ethically and also in context, and by not engaging with it, then we're doing a disservice to the young people in our care.
Thank you, Ross. Can I go to Sally? You're part of Future Skills Organization, mouthful. When we were talking about today earlier, and you work across understanding skills across multiple sectors as well as age groups. And one keyword which came out was AI skilling. And then you said, okay, we should not be doing it volume / pace. So the conversation on volume versus pace and AI skilling, if you can bring that to the room.
Sure, I'd love to. Can I just see a show of hands? Who knows who the Future Skills organisation actually are? Okay, great. So most people have no idea. Just to give you some context, Future Skills Organisation is funded by the federal government. We're one of 10 jobs and skills councils, and we exist principally to try and better connect the vocational education sector and industry. So we're there to look after the training packages that are the national training packages, and to try and make sure that the people going through those packages can actually get work at the end of it. So the Future Skills Organisation is responsible for finance, tech and business. I look after the digital and the tech qualifications. But Dev, to your point, we are seeing that you'd have to be hiding under a rock. I think it's been discussed many, many times today that there's this need for AI skilling. We've identified that unis are struggling. The vocational sector is also struggling. One of the things, I think Siobhan, who also got up before, was talking about one of our projects, which is the AI Skills Accelerator, and that is designed, again, to bring together people from different parts of the ecosystem as part of an ecosystem solution, to try and make sure that we are getting AI skills best practice and AI training delivered to the vet workforce as one starting point. Because if your teachers aren't trained or your educators aren't adequately trained, then we're not going to get the students trained. So it's just one of our pieces of work that we're doing to try and get that volume and pace of skilling. We have just released, literally yesterday, I think, we're releasing new units of competency, and for anybody that's not in vet, that's probably putting you to sleep right now, but it's basically the scaffold, the training around digital capability, and these are new and exciting because they're based on different principles of learning that vet, other than compared to what vocational education has used before. And the idea is that we are not only trying to change the scaffold, change the structures in the training package, but we're also trying to do other tests to get these skills out in market faster. So we're actually working with a whole series of training partners, and we're going to have AI skilling out in market February, March next year, and a whole series of pilots. And why is that important? Because you probably hear about this all the time. Like somebody's got a different AI skills program. This is the national system. So we are trying to get that training done with credibility, with that stability and reliability that comes from being the national system, but again, flexibility and examples that can be contextualised across multiple industries. So the training is going to be designed to be able to be delivered in health, whether it's in automotive, whether it's in hairdressing, okay? So that's just some of the work we're doing to try and get the AI skilling out there, both at pace and also volume.
Thank you. Can I go to Helen? We have talked about the health department this morning, and with that context in mind, you were the first inaugural Chief Cybersecurity Officer in the department, or the East Metro Health. And how was that journey by being one person to a department now? But what's the first conversation you need to have with people at that level who have been working in the public service for some time, to use the language of cybersecurity or understanding risks from a different angle?
I'll preface everything I say with, of course, this is a story I've heard somewhere in the industry, in no way related to any organisation I work at now or in the past. And I would also like to ask you guys a quick question. Can you put your hand up if you know how many AI toolsets are in use in your organisation? And if you do know, is it more than 20? Is it more than 50? Why is this important? Because you can't block them all. They keep on coming. So when we talk about AI and cybersecurity, as mentioned previously, it's joined up. You cannot ignore it. You can't do one and not the other. So while you're teaching AI skills, cyber risks have to come into that. But what are the benefits? Now that is the approach I took when creating a team in health. Health is by its very nature risk adverse, as it should be, because everyone else gets to say, well, no one's going to die. We don't get to say that one. So we have to care a lot. How do you take a risk-adverse agency into some contemporary tool sets, knowing that because no one's ever looked before, you're going to find some really ugly things. You're going to find devices that nobody knows about. They don't know who put them there. They don't know what they're doing. Can you just turn them off in health? Maybe not. So what do? It's people, process and technology. Start moving, don't stop, just start and keep going. Don't take no for an answer. You may have to revisit it several times, but have an appetite to make things better. That is all you need to do. Start making it better.
Thank you. Thank you. We are asking to understand AI from a very highly complex environment when we are using more than 50 plus applications and we don't know who is using what. Can I ask you, and then privacy is another conversation to be had in the same breath. You can't have privacy as a topic without the other conversations. It's very important. Could you talk about the privacy obligations and a bit more understanding or perspective from an European Union point of view, and so that we get a bit of a context on that side?
Yes, happy to. So I think at the moment, large organisations are starting to grapple with privacy in general, trying to figure out where is our customer data, do we hold personal information, Is it sensitive information? Is it in an email? Is it at a database layer? How is it being transferred from one place to another? Traditionally, we haven't really thought about that when we've been implementing large systems that we use. And so soon, another layer onto privacy that's coming towards us is what Europe currently do at the moment. So I think at the moment, you know, some of the things that are coming towards us are organisations being able to answer that they are looking after their personal information, then what algorithms are we using with our personal information and being really clear about that. And then next will be how are we using our staff information. People are going to be able to take organisations to court. There will be the ability for organisations to be fined civilly. And adding the complexity of staff members being able to ask these questions starts to become a bigger problem. So if you can imagine a staff member might at some point ask, I want to see all the information you have about me when I've been mentioned. Think about Teams chat messages and how that's been managed. So if we're struggling today to really understand how we're storing, using, collecting, transferring personal information of our customers, then start thinking about what are we doing with our staff information.
Thank you, Rai. There's a question, thank you again for the question from Slido to Ross specifically. He says, how do you, as head of the school, ensure that students are not overly reliant on AI for solutions to homework or assignments? And this person says, I see this happening a lot with my students as a tutor.
It's difficult, and it's I mean, a lot of it setting home or text or work for home is difficult because we know that that people will find the easiest way. So trying to impart on the young people the fact that the fundamentals are the fundamentals, and unless you have that knowledge about a particular subject area, whatever you put into the AI searching and prompting, when it comes back, unless you actually have a fundamental understanding of that topic, there's going to be glaring errors in that. So trying to talk through with students with examples about where it can go wrong, and we've had a number of examples that have been spoken about today. A lot of time in class time becomes more and more important because the ability to actually circumvent and actually just prompt goes, but also the interactive, collaborative aspect within a class situation is where the gold is. So it is complex, it is difficult. When students bring work in, teachers know that it's not their work. They can tell straight away. So having those conversations, but making sure that the time spent in class is time well spent, so they can't get round the way they have been in the past.
Thank you.
Can I just add? I was at a conference the other day, and a young man got up from university, and he said, "I have never not learnt with AI, and I don't know what I would do if it was taken away." And it's funny because I work at Future Skills, I'm all about AI skilling, but I'm a mum of 5 as well, and I agree that we need to be teaching it in the schools. I also just still grapple with the idea, and I've heard it a couple of times today, AI removes the boring, AI removes the rote, and yet unfortunately, I look at my daughter going into her first job in an insurance agency, and she's on the cusp of still not quite being all AI'd. And the way she's learning how to build a business case and the way she's learning how to build business models in Excel is all by doing the boring, mundane stuff that nobody else wants to do. So there is still that challenge. I've sat with academics at universities who tell me that, the way our brains work, we will develop other skills to, replace those that we're losing. But I do think there's a risk. We do outsource so much potentially to AI, particularly when the kids are young and in school, and I don't think we know yet what that impact is going to be, but I'd love your perspective.
I'm just going to jump in on the back of that as well. The generational change that's come from when we used to walk around the supermarket and put things in the trolley and hand over cash and know whether the change we got was right. Now everybody just swipes and wanders off and they have no idea.
Thank you, Helen. I think it's for Sally, from a skills point of view. I'm now early 40s. And as
you
a
look
young...
very good for your age, Dev.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You did change your
and
response there, mid to early. I like it.
I am having fashion envy as well. There's some very nattily dressed men on this stage.
Thank you. Need to take a moment. So, okay. So, as a young man, when I started my first job, I didn't know what good looks like. So there were managers, bosses who have worked with me and taught me what is wrong. And after 20 years of experience, I know what wrong looks like. So when I prompt AI, I know what good and bad looks like. Yeah. So for young people, when you are designing this training curriculum, how can we find those mentors or bosses or managers who can train? How does the training or the skills of the future will teach that part, which probably 20 years of investment in me by my mentors or my managers and bosses across section. So how do we get that back?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to answer it in full, but again, we've been doing a lot of research into entry-level pathways into technology and what are they now, what's happening to them in an attempt to, again, as I've said before, we're trying to design training that's going to ensure people get jobs. So industry has not traditionally been great at saying exactly the skills that they need. And now you've got this double whammy of some of these entry-level jobs drying up, and then how are people getting the skills and the mentoring and the support that they need to move into more senior positions. I would say that one of the things that we keep hearing from industry is, once again, all of the key skills that they are looking for are largely the human skills. So, I mean, this won't be a shock to anybody. The critical thinking, the problem solving, they've become even more important. So if you are lucky enough to get an entry-level role, there is more emphasis on those skills, and then you've also got an additional layer of sort of AI literacy or capability that is being expected of you as well. To your question about mentoring, I just think there is so much onus on industry and the tech sector, and we're having conversations with the Tech Council and AAA and ACS about this, which is young people, as they come through education, be it in the secondary and in tertiary, whether it's vet or higher ed, they need access to work integrated learning. They need to be able to be engaged in something that is as close to reality, if not real, as possible. And traditionally, those opportunities are relatively thin on the ground. So we need, to your point, Dev, more industry leaning in to offer internships, work placements, and we also need, don't get me wrong, this is also something that we exist to try and advocate to government to help de-risk this for employers and try and subsidise some of this as well. Otherwise, we are going to end up in a situation where industry will unfortunately look at the short-term benefits of getting rid of layers of entry-level staff, and we're going to end up in a hole in the future. So.
I'd also add that in terms of the leadership conversation, it has been changing a lot over the last few years in terms of organisations expecting leaders to be more open to having conversations around what learning and development might look like, what strengths they have on the team so they can identify that a lot better, and then providing more of those opportunities around that 70-20-10 rule around learning. Is a lot of it, that 70% is done on the job. So I think that is evolving in organisations in terms of expectations on leaders and what organisations would really like them to be looking at to ensure that they're actually developing their teams along the way.
And as you also chair of a large technology-based membership group, and then you run a lot of events and a training curriculum, and then technology roles are the first one to vanish at the undergrad level before other things. And how is that conversation being expedited in terms of sense of urgency, in terms of who are having those conversations at that level?
in terms of the development. So yes, so at Women in Technology, a lot of our base is in Queensland. So we have over 12,000 members. And how that works is typically we have corporates that sign up to the membership, and then they make the services available to their staff. So a lot of the development programs that we have are a mix of some technical in terms of what's emerging in the space, but a lot of them are around leadership skills. We run a mentor and mentee program around confidence for women in the tech and sciences in terms of gaining that confidence, whether they be entry level or in a leadership position. And they are still continuing to be quite popular. And organisations sign up for those programs to be available for their staff. As we're starting to see, you know, the economy pinch, they're no longer necessarily running these programs themselves. So we're starting to look for ways to be able to outsource that at a cost that they can actually have. So they're continuing to be popular. And again, over to the in terms of the soft skills, they're still as popular, if not as important, as the technical skills for our members and our corporates as well.
Thank you, Yari. Coming back to Ross, I want to mix the question from Slido, and which we discussed about earlier as well. Ross, you talked about the students using AI. Is it okay for teachers to use AI, or should they lead by example? And also we talked about one-to-one that you have introduced AI, and so the teachers are also learning and students are also learning. So there's a joint learning curve, both cohorts are going through. And teacher is very interesting to see teachers having that learning curve as well. And what's our initial learnings from that, and as a case study?
When we know if the teachers don't have a digital literacy, then you've got no chance of it being implemented into the classroom. So going back 2 years at the start of the year, we had an emphasis with our professional learning time, and we actually, over the first 4 months of the year, ensured that we put aside 10 hours where teachers could actually play and learn. And particularly for the Luddites, the fact that they had time in professional learning to mentor with some of the younger teachers to actually learn how it's used, and also what are some of the implications into the classroom. So, as always, if the teachers aren't on board, then you've got no chance of that being implemented into the classroom. So that's the first part. The second part of the question was?
I'll clarify the question, but the question was essentially that should teachers be leading by example in the use of AI?
Absolutely, and we're part of a project with several schools across all sectors about productivity gains that we can make for teachers, with marking rubrics, with creating content. So, and of course, if there are productivity gains within that, the teachers should be role modelling that, but also in real class situations for teachers to show the students how they can actually answer some questions with content, and actually work together with prompt crafting, and then look at the gaps that there may be with the responses that are coming back. So it is critical to actually do that, and the staff, the teaching staff, need to do that as part of that process.
Mm-hmm. Helen, a question for you from Slido. How should risk-adverse businesses who are slow to adopt AI tools manage shadow IT by employees?
That's a very interesting question, because as we all know, as soon as you block something, people will find a reason and a way to go around it. So shadow IT will always exist if you don't have an environment which enables people to do things with as little friction as possible. In terms of eliminating shadow IT, I don't think you can, and I don't think you should, because you're always going to have people who might specialise in one particular job area, but they're really passionate about something else. And so you're going to lose that innovation, that creativity, if you completely block everything down and get rid of them. So I don't think you should ever get rid of them completely, but put some perimeter guards around so you can see what they're doing and that your data's not leaving your environment.
Thank you, Helen.
And if in doubt, give it to a 14-year-old child. They'll find a way around it.
like social media ban.
Correct.
Sally, question for you from Slido. How much AI is being used in creating training/skilling content for AI? What are the challenges you're facing in the AI literacy upliftment?
That's an excellent question. So there's a couple of different ways of answering that. One is how much AI is being used in the creation of the training packages. So we've actually got a specific project where we are looking exactly at that, as in how can we use AI to increase the productivity? Because if anybody is aware, the vet sector is known as not being particularly fast, right? So we have a reputation as being slow to adapt, and we have to change that. There's a massive need at the moment for applied skills. That's what the vocational sector provides. And thus, as a result, we need to adapt and be able to demonstrate the usage of these tools in the creation of the training packages, but also then supporting all of the registered training organisations that exist out there who then go and create the training and assessment resources, right? So what I would say is the thing that we have ultimate control over, we are 100% looking at how to use AI, and we run into the same problems, I think, as everybody else that's doing that, is how do you do it safely? How do you make sure it's not hallucinating? All of the same things. And then we also need to then support and help provide advice to every single registered training organisation, including all of the big TAFEs, is looking at this exact issue as well, because there is enormous opportunity to be able to quickly contextualise materials for different students. And I mean, at its peak, if you can get adaptive learning working in the way that it could potentially, it is just so fabulously exciting. But we're not there yet, and so, as I said, the hurdles are all of the things that I previously outlined, but we are... there's an enormous appetite for the AI training. We will see our training hitting the market, as I said, probably February, March, where we're testing what is new. I mean, in my previous roles, I've also been a part of a lot of AI micro-credentialing and micro-skilling that has been out there in the market, and a lot of those things have been very successful at lifting to a base level of AI capability. So I would say we're on a good path, but people are looking for... Hands up who has felt overwhelmed by the use of AI and the content that's out there, or even in your day-to-day job, the amount of information you have to digest now because of AI. Yeah, good, I'm not alone. I actually find that I've got more to do now with AI rather than less, because I'm reading more things from people. But that we need to try and solve for that as well, that overload, and to be able to present reliable, curated options that people can come back to and not have to sift through 20,000 things.
Thank you, Sally. Arif, a question for you from Slido. Following up on your response to the first question, which is privacy, do you see a possibility for Australia adopting the right to be forgotten from GDPR? If so, how can businesses best prepare themselves for it?
At the moment, the signals are that we will be adopting it. So I think that was the first part of the question. I think in terms of preparing, most organisations need to start with, what are we collecting? Where are we storing it? Should we be collecting it? Is that the right place to store it? I mean, even if you can answer those two basic questions to begin with, you will find that you can start to actually get some actions on the board. A lot of the time, you know, in the past, we've collected data because we can, because we want to, because it makes our ability to market to our customer better, more unique, more targeted. But these days, it's actually a question of, should we be keeping that? Should we be asking for it in the first place? And should we be keeping it for a certain amount of time? So I think if you want to prepare yourself, those are the sorts of questions you should be asking in the organisation, and I would encourage any leaders to do that. The more leaders asking those questions, the better answers you're going to get in terms of uncovering where you've got this information. And then I think also starting to think about how we make decisions around it. So at the moment, organisations and leaders are struggling with that piece because typically the problem is across the entire organisation. And so is legal advising us, or are they an authority on this? Do we have a compliance team that advises, or are they the authority on this? Is it the information security team that is advising, or is the authority on this? Is it the executive that actually has the part of the business where most of the data is kept, because they are the owners of the business systems and the data? So all those questions end up coming to the fore when you start getting around the table once you have that initial assessment. So it's quite a big journey, especially for organisations that have been around a long time, because you have a lot of different systems keeping a lot of different things.
Thank you. Coming back to you, Ross. From a schooling point of view, our probably education has to focus on critical thinking, problem solving, and trying to learn how to not to learn the wrong pathway. And while being AI in the picture, how do you bring parents into the conversation, the ethical use, because the whole learning does not stop after school, or should after.
And it couldn't be more important at the moment about what is the difference. And it was interesting, the previous panel just talking about what actually stands out now, and just the volume of what comes at us. When you see something that is different, it really stands out, that is creative. So we talk about it all the time to the students, the fact that the soft skills about the ability to see content and see information and actually evaluate it quickly is a skill for life. But just as importantly, collaborating with others and the leadership styles and being part of a team, a collaborative team, really are skills that will never go out of fashion, irrespective of technology advances in the future. So in many ways, those are the things that will make you stand out. You'll always have to know a technical or a content part of whatever you do in your career, and that will always change. But being able to analyse that and make judgments on that is something that will put you in good stead for life. So talking about that explicitly and putting in opportunities wherever you can, and also acknowledging and celebrating that. You often become in schools what you acknowledge and celebrate. So talking about it explicitly is a point of difference, and it will make you adaptable in the future as everything changes exponentially.
Thank you, Ross.
But we went into tech because we don't like people.
Thank you, Helen. I want to start, have same question for AI, all three of you, because one of the things of not just AI adoption, but skills and is cultural and mindset shift. I want to start, and your final remarks on those two keywords from you.
So from a leadership and culture perspective, I think we've all touched on, the different skills that we think are really valuable moving forward. It's no different for leaders and a culture. And I think what I would say on that piece is I've been through I don't know how many cultural transformations, and it's always the same things you need to get right. What are the two key behaviours you want to change? Do we want to be more innovative? Do we want to be more discerning? Is it about being better at data literacy? Whatever it is, what are the two key things that we want to achieve? And then forming your plan around that. So typically for innovation, as an example, you need time to be creative. So how do we actually give our leaders and our people time to actually get into that space? It's not something you can do in between a meeting. That's not how innovation happens. And being really purposeful about ensuring that goes through the organisation. And typically something like that can take 2, 3, 4 years. It's not a turn on the tap moment. So you need to be really purposeful about what you're trying to achieve in this space.
Thank you. Sally.
I'm going to say, broadly, I would say the solutions that I'm seeing relate to ecosystems. So we're part of, for example, the New South Wales Digital Skills Compact. And again, that's bringing together government, industry, education, and that's higher education and vet and schools together to look at how do you solve some of these more complex problems. And I think to your point, these are not quick solutions. Like, you know, if as somebody that's been in the New South Wales Digital Compact since it started, you can get frustrated at actually how slow it's going. But if you don't, and we've heard it again today, if you don't have the diverse voices in the room, then you don't get the good outcome. And what I'm seeing more and more is even at the federal government level is looking to potentially bring that sort of compact idea to a national level. We're looking to scale it around the country through different states. Why? Because that's the way that we think we're going to be able to solve some of these skilling problems more effectively, over time.
Thank you.
Know your why and be able to communicate it really clearly and simply. Why am I here today? Because women in tech are 40-something%, women in cyber are 17%, which is a dismal percentage, but I can't tell people that it's terrible if I'm not willing to see her, be her, and make my introvert self really uncomfortable being here.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Sally, and thank you, Ari. Thank you. Good done.